Hi, I'm Olian, and I'm once again experimenting with microalgae. So, as you can probably tell, I am not in my usual place, and that is because I am traveling. It's March break, and I'm in Dallas, Texas, visiting family. So obviously I'm not able to access my lab. So I thought, why don't I change it up for my vlog this week? I'm gonna do something a little different. I was doing some research recently on different ways that wastewater is treated around the world, and I saw some really interesting stuff. So let's go on a journey and see how wastewater is treated around the world. Now, I've got a trusty globe to help me, and the first stop on our journey is in Rome, Italy, over here. But it's not the Rome you're thinking of. What I'm talking about is actually ancient Rome, the ancient Roman Empire. The Romans were actually the first people to invent a wastewater treatment system, the Roman aqueducts. That's right, technically Romans were the first civilization to do wastewater treatment. The aqueduct system in Rome is actually the first example of wastewater treatment we see in history. And basically what it did was transport waste out of Rome's city into the rivers, and then bring water back up to Rome for people to drink. These aqueducts were actually an amazing feat of engineering. They were incredibly sturdy. In fact, the Aqua Virgo, this wastewater treatment aqueduct system that existed in Rome over 2,000 years ago, still stands today, supplying Rome's famous Trevi fountain. So returning to the present now, I want to tell you about another really cool wastewater treatment system, all the way on the other side of the planet in Singapore. Now, Singapore, you may not be able to see it on this globe for sure. It's right there on the southern tip of Malaysia. But Singapore is very much landlocked, or rather waterlocked. It's surrounded entirely by seawater. And Singapore as a country has a lot of difficulty acquiring the water it needs to run its society. So the Singapore government created this system called collecting every drop. What they did was decide that they were going to take every bit of wastewater in their country and recycle it completely. The Singapore government constructed this massive system of pipelines for water and massive wastewater treatment plants that completely convert wastewater into drinkable water. Normally, a wastewater treatment plant will output into a river, and then drinkable water will be drawn out of that river for everyone to drink. But in Singapore, because they don't have those water systems, they take their wastewater, recycle it, and put it directly into their water reservoirs. That means that you could literally take a cup, scoop some water out of the treated wastewater in Singapore, and just take a drink. It's crazy. Alright, our next stop is taking us all the way to the bottom of the globe, all the way down here to Antarctica, specifically the McMurdo Research Station. So for a while, when people were starting these research stations in Antarctica, wastewater was just being outputted into the ocean. But people realized that wasn't a great idea for aquatic life. So eventually, outputting wastewater into the ocean was outlawed. And the McMurdo Station and other stations like it had to build wastewater treatment plants. Now, one of the big challenges they faced was actually the cold, because water freezes. So what they had to do was build heated pipelines, one of the first of their kind, so that they could make sure that frozen pipelines weren't clogging up their systems. Alright, it's time for our last stop on this journey, and for this one, we're actually leaving the globe and going to space. The International Space Station actually features one of the coolest wastewater treatment systems out there. This treatment system is able to recycle the urine of astronauts so that they don't even have to source water from anywhere else. They use a process called vacuum distillation, and it's able to recycle over 98% of the water that astronauts use on the station. It might sound a little gross, but it's actually saving millions upon millions of dollars for the space station that would otherwise be spent trying to bring water all the way from Earth on rockets up to space. It's amazing to me how many different ways there are to treat wastewater, from those aqueducts back in ancient Rome all the way to humanity's expansion into space. I mean, who knows? Maybe someday we'll be talking about the wastewater treatment systems on the moon or even on Mars. To me, this speaks to how integral the sustainable management of water is to our society. We see wastewater treatment systems everywhere. And my project with microalgae is really just a small part of that. And it's both humbling and extremely inspiring to see that my project is contributing to these amazing systems. Well, that's all I've got for this week. I hope you enjoyed this little detour away from the lab work, and I hope you learned something along the way. I'll be having more experiment updates next week, so if you're interested in seeing more of those, subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next one.